We Three Kings, a great Christmas tune that I remember singing as a child at school. This one fits really nicely on the ukulele in the key of E minor, and it's in 6/8 time. We've had another one in 6/8 time as well if you look through my Christmas fingerstyle pieces. And that means we get this lovely da 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 kind of bouncy feel rather than 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. In 6/8 time we have 6 eighth notes to a bar, or 6 quavers if you're from the UK like me, and that means we feel it like this: 1 2 3 2 2 3 1 2 3 2 2 3. And sometimes we'll have a note with a stick without a flag on, and that lasts for 2 of those eighth notes. So then we get 1 2 3 1 2 3 bum 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 bum. We Three Kings of Orient are. Gives us that nice, well, swing feel really. So let's have a look at what we've got chord wise. A good thing to do always with these is to strum the chords to start with and just hum the tune and just feel your way through the piece. So we're in E minor. We've got da 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 B7 E minor, da 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 B7 E minor, E minor D7 G, A minor B7 E minor D7, and this is where it changes to the second part of the tune. G G C G G C G, E minor D7 G C G D7 G, then we stay on a G and C G. Lots of chords in that last little bit, but when we get to it we'll find that really we are just playing our basic open chord shapes. For almost all of this tune we are playing the chord shapes that we will have just strummed to play through that tune. We're going to be lifting off fingers and adding fingers to give us the melody, but really now we've strummed through the chords, our left hand knows more or less where it's going. So here we go, let's just break it down a line at a time. There are only 4 lines of tablature to this tune. You can download the tablature to print out if you'd like to from the link below, but it's going to appear on the screen as well. So we start with an E minor, then we lift off our first finger to give us our open A string, but don't take off everything else because in a moment we're going to strum just 3 strings, miss out the A string, and it's the same notes we were holding down for the E minor a moment ago, so don't take off your fingers unless you really need to. By the way, I'm strumming this just using my right hand thumb. I find it sounds nice and soft and it gives me the control over exactly which strings I want to strum, but if you want to try finger picking it, please go ahead. So here we go, E minor, lift off your index finger, play the A string, strum just the other 3 strings, and then we lift off the second finger, and at that point you can actually let go of the chord if you want to because we'll be on our way to the next one. The next chord is B7, and we can play a B7 just by moving an E minor across the strings towards the ceiling. Then we move those 3 fingers across in the same shape to make the B7, and now I just slid my index finger up to the 3rd fret and back again. If you wanted to take your second finger off that string and use that, you could. I just find that sliding that finger up is easier and it stops me accidentally playing a string that I don't want to play. And then we go back to our E minor chord, but really, initially at least, we only need the ring finger down because we're just going to play the G and C strings. The good news is that then we do exactly the same thing again and we finish the first line. So let's do that. And again. That's the quarter of the tune done. That's the first of 4 lines. Second line, back onto our E minor, but this time just 3 strings. Miss out the A string, don't strum that far. I land my thumb on that string, whichever string it is I don't want to play. I use that string to catch my thumb, and that way I can't accidentally play it, plus my thumb is muting that string anyway. So we strum 3 strings, then just the second string, then we go to a D7, just a basic 2 open D7 chord, all of it, and then the A string again. then a G chord, and then just the top string again. Let's just do that bit. That's. And see how we're getting a long note and a short note. Long, short, long, short, long, short. That's that 6/8 where we just play the 1 and the 3 of each group of 3 in action, giving us this lovely bouncy feel. Keep hold of the G, put your little finger on the 5th fret, and this is where we actually do get a group of 3. So we're going to have 1, 3, 1, 3, 1, 3, 1, 2, 3. 5th fret with our little finger, slide it down to the 3rd fret, take it off, and all that time I kept hold of that G chord. So those 2 bars. Another group of 3 on an A minor chord now. Just open A string as part of the A minor, add the 2nd fret on the A string, take it off. Now the chord here says B7, but the melody note is actually not a note that belongs in that chord. So we're going to sort of mash the 2 things together. We're going to play 2, 3, 3. Then that note that sounds a bit tense there is going to resolve to a note that would be in a B7 chord, the 2nd fret. So, and then we're back to that little E minor, just that 2-string one that we had earlier. Ignore the D7 on the end for a moment and let's just get to that E minor where the first section is essentially finished. Here we go. Okay, now at this point it's quite common to slow down a little bit, just to take a break from the tempo of the tune here as we introduce the next bit. So we have a D7, just 3 strings, then the open 1st string. So we'll get da 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 da. So we've just done that free of tempo to get us ready for this next bit of the tune, which is completely different to the first part. First part of the tune was in E minor, sounded quite sad. The second part moves to what's called the relative major, so it's the same notes in the key signature, but now we're thinking of the G as our key and our home chord. So it starts being a bit sad in E minor. Without changing key essentially, we've now moved it to G, the relative major. It's going to sound a lot happier on this second part of the tune. We have a G, but we're not going to play the A string, so it's a little 3-string G, then the 2nd string, then the 3 strings again, then the C string, the 3rd string. Then we just take off our first 2 fingers so that we've now got open, open, 3. Now I know it says C above it. Those 3 notes belong in a C chord. The problem we've got is that C chord's no good because we need that 3rd fret E string, that note of G, as our melody note. So we're going to keep that finger there. Then we're going to lift it off to give us the open 2nd string and then back to our little 3-string G. Then do it again. That's good. That line is the same thing twice, just like the first line. Then we move to an E minor, but again, just 3 strings. Play the 3, then play the 2nd string, then go to a full D7, and then immediately to a G. Now this bit's got some pretty fast chord changes in it, so you might want to slow it down when you play it. This will be the bit that you can test it out on. So if you've got your metronome, set your metronome, see if you can play bars 13 and 14 at that speed, and if you can't, slow your metronome down and play the whole thing slower so that you don't find yourself slowing down on this bit. So we have E minor, D7, G, C, G, D7, G. So They're not difficult chords, but we've got that long, short feel again to the rhythm. So sometimes it's quite a quick change. And now the last 2 bars, back to our sort of little 3-string G chord. 3 strings, 2nd string, 3 strings, 3rd string. Take off everything except that finger that's on the 3rd fret of the E string. Lift it off, back to our 3-string G chord again. That little pattern is exactly the same as bars 9 and 10, the first 2 bars of the 3rd line. So we actually had, in the second half of the tune, those 2 bars, then those 2 bars again, then the 2 bars with all of those chord changes in, and then the same 2 bars that we had again. So really there are only 4 bars worth of material to learn for the whole of the second 2 lines. So let's play it through together to finish, not too quickly. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. I hope you've enjoyed this one, and I hope you have a fantastic Christmas. I'll see you soon. Bye bye.